Alright, today we're gonna go over Rionya Fire Dancer. So for this deck, I was thinking first we want to look at that combat trigger and abuse that. So we're gonna add some more combat effects to the deck, as well as really focus on that copying ability. And it gets tricky when there's legendary creatures, so I'm probably gonna go for a non-legendary creature direction, as well as throwing a bunch of like cantrips in there so I can get even more of those creatures. Throw something like a Solemn Simulacrum in there, get like 3 or 4 triggers off of that, and then you're ramping in red. Let's do this.
Alright, guys. This is a special one, Rionya Fire Dancer. So when I originally looked at this card, at the beginning of combat on your turn, create X tokens that are copies of another target creature you control. When I saw that, I was like, okay, I don't want to do legendary creatures because you're going to be making copies of them. So I want to do non-legendaries to really get more of an effect out of that. Where X is 1 plus the number of instants and sorcery spells you cast this turn. Okay, so you want to be casting a lot of instants and sorceries before you're going into combat. They gain haste. The copies exile them at the beginning of the next end step. Okay, so when I made this deck, let's go into spoilers. I immediately thought of the red value creatures and kind of like low costed instants and sorceries that we could cast to get you get all those triggers to happen. Also, stuff like this, Sundial, ends the turn. So the reason this is in here is your commander will exile those tokens at the end of your turn, but when that triggers on the stack, you can activate Sundial, and then if this trigger goes off before that other one goes off, then that other one doesn't matter. This one's just going to end the turn right there. Whatever's on the stack gets cleared. Sorceries, you'll see in here and in the instance, there's a lot of like guys that are gonna draw you more stuff, or a little like cantrips that are 1 mana, draw a card, do something else, or these guys that just add you a ton of mana, as well as some extra combat, because if you get extra combats, that trigger is going to be triggering more times, giving you more copies of all the value creatures that we'll get to. Lands, nothing too special, just mono red. Instance, like I was talking about, more ways to just cheat on your mana, as well as just playing some cheap stuff that draws you cards. Enchantments, just aggravated assault, so you can get more of those combats. Creatures, so as you'll see, the only legendary creature is the commander, and that's because I wanted to make sure any creatures that I had out, you would still be able to do her ability because it's X plus 1. So even if you don't cast anything, you'll still get that copy. So I want to be able to utilize that on each of my turns, whether it's through some cheeky way to add extra combats, or if it's like getting extra dragons out, or like Inferno Titan, getting an extra Inferno Titan, attacking you with that, getting all those extra triggers, extra burnished hearts, and then sacrificing those burnished hearts before like the end of the turn. There's some interesting situations that can come up. For more on that, let's go over to the playtest. All right, so we'll keep this. We can play around with about half of it, and one that's faithless looting, so it's not too bad. So we'll do looting. That's going to be draw 2 cards, discard 2 cards. So draw 2, we'll discard. Let's go that and that. So that was turn 1, turn 2. Play another, and then we'll go, we don't really need that, especially when we can go turn 3, Varnish Heart, kind of slow start, but we really don't want to be that crazy of like a red flag with this deck, because it is kind of glass cannon, and when you do go off, you want to go off hard, and before that time, you're kind of just a sitting duck, so you really don't want to be making any waves until it's time. So as we're going, we're like holding on to some instants and sorceries, ramping up, getting some more ramp going on, more ramp going on, and then so you get those value creatures out, and then once your commander's on the battleground, then we cast an insert sorcery, be able to make a copy of something like a Solemn Simulacrum, get those copies, these trigger, you get more lands, and then just keep going. So that.